Right now, the summer is in full swing, and so is the construction. A reminder tonight from a worker out on the roads.
And Rockford, Illinois says it's hoping to build a new Hard Rock casino just over the state line. What that means for the Beloit casino plans. Straight ahead.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
Thank you for joining us tonight. After a week of heat and humidity, our hot weather should reach a peak tomorrow with highs in the middle 90s.
Well, now things were a little cooler than expected today thanks to some early morning thunderstorms. And there is a chance for some more tonight. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joins us now. He has our first alert forecast. Gary?
You know, we talked about it last night. If we had thunderstorms overnight, it could keep us a little bit cooler today. That's exactly what happened, although the humidity levels really didn't make much of a difference. Tonight, there's thunderstorms out to the west of us, but notice they're heading more toward the east-northeast and targeting central Wisconsin. The bulk of those may stay to our north, even though there still is a severe weather threat. If those storms do develop farther to the south, gusty winds and heavy rain could be a main threat for tonight. But tomorrow, the higher severe weather threat area shifts northward into northern Wisconsin with just a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms north of Madison if storms develop at all, which right now it doesn't appear they will. And then Saturday, as a cold front moves through, we could see another isolated strong to severe thunderstorm, but that'll be followed by a break in the heat. Heat advisories are in effect until 11 p.m. tomorrow for pretty much most of southern Wisconsin. Far southwestern Wisconsin has an excessive heat warning until 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. High temperatures today hit 92 in Prairie du Chien. Everybody else stayed in the 80s, but it felt like temperatures were in the middle 90s thanks to the high humidity. Right now, we're still at 83 degrees at 10 o'clock in Madison. Look at the dew point temperature, 76. The dew point temperatures are in the lower 80s over southwestern Wisconsin, so it still feels like 92 in Platteville and Prairie du Chien and 91 in Madison. That just shows you how the heat is being affected by the humidity. But for tomorrow, we'll look for skies that turn mostly sunny, look for a high of 96, and the afternoon heat index could hit between 104 and 109 degrees. Later on, I'll talk about when we can expect some breaks from the heat.
All right, Gary, thanks. And with the summer heat comes road construction projects, dozens of them going on all over the state right now.
And the State Department of Transportation, along with local construction workers, are reminding drivers to obey the rules of the road in construction zones. Gabriela Becerra reports.
We're out here just trying to get our work done, and it's not always the easiest to do. It's always the most pleasant conditions to do it in, but we're out here.
It's something they see every day.
I've been in the construction industry for a while, so I've seen a lot of things.
Drivers going too fast.
It goes from people that are going 90 miles an hour to people that are going 40 miles an hour.
Or drivers on their cell phones.
You'd be surprised how many times you see people on their phones or texting or playing with the radios or something when they're within feet of you going 60 miles an hour.
Handheld devices are prohibited and fines are doubled according to Wisconsin law.
There's a reason why we don't want distracted drivers out there, because things change.
Motorists should just really focus on the road ahead. Rear-end collisions are one of the most common crashes in work zones throughout the state and country.
Over 4,000 work zone crashes occurred from tailgating, according to the Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
We want to make sure that motorists plan ahead, be alert, and eliminate distractions when driving.
Wisconsin DOT says following these rules not only keeps drivers safe, but also the workers doing their jobs.
We're out there every day trying to get the roads built. We have families. We want to go home to them just like everybody else. We just ask you to pay attention to the road. Please don't use your cell phones. Pay attention to the signs, the advanced warnings that are out there, directing traffic, giving you a heads up on the changing conditions, and just slow down.
Dane County Sheriff David Mahoney also wants to remind drivers to respect the rules of the road in work zones. He says it's important to protect the safety of the construction workers and also the drivers.
Green Bay police are looking for the driver of a vehicle who hit a pedestrian last night. This video, captured by a TV station security system, caught the entire incident. After the collision, the pedestrian remains on the ground while the driver, described by police as an older white female, stops her vehicle, calmly walks up to check on the 49-year-old male victim. But after the victim crawls out of the road, the driver gets into her vehicle and slowly drives away seconds before a Green Bay squad car rolls up. Madison police have arrested a second suspect wanted for an attempted murder last week. According to a release, 19-year-old Markeith Mayer was taken into custody today. He was wanted for a shooting last Wednesday after a teenager was shot multiple times near Great Gray Drive on the city's southeast side. The U.S. Marshals also arrested a second suspect in Illinois.
While the Ho-Chunk Nation waits for approval from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the city of Rockford is hearing ideas for its casino. Earlier this week, Hard Rock and Cheap Trick made Rockford a proposal. Amy Reed explains how this could impact Beloit's and Ho-Chunk's plans.
Where stalks of corn sit now, the Ho-Chunk Nation wants to build a new casino. The nearly 140,000 square foot unit would be right along the interstate and would have a hotel, water park, and convention center along with the casino. But take that interstate 17 miles south, and Rockford, along with Hard Rock and the band Cheap Trick, are planning something similar. After hearing the proposal put out by those groups Tuesday, Ho-Chunk spokesman Ryan Greendeer said they're checking their plans against Rockford's.
We're coming back to the table and we're taking a look at what we can do with our project. However, we haven't made any decisions on how we're going to adjust the scope, or even if we need to.
He said Ho-Chunk Nation is still waiting for approval from the Bureau of Indian Affairs and then has to wait for the governor to sign off. And the city of Beloit told us they're still focusing on their end of things in a statement saying, "We're focused on what needs to be accomplished to bring this resort to Beloit, and with it, 1,500 jobs and revenue opportunities for the state, county, and city, and not on our neighbors in Illinois." Even if both casinos go in so close together, Greendeer doesn't see it necessarily as competition.
Adding the Hard Rock brand I think it's going to be more complementary than competitive. It's going to make the region a powerhouse in tourism.
But even if it were a competition, Tom McBride, who lives in Janesville, knows which he would side with.
If the casino were in Beloit or there were another one in Rockford, I'd stick to Beloit. I have a very soft spot for Beloit in my heart.
Hard Rock and Cheap Trick's proposal still has to go through the official route, and they and others have until August 16th to get those in. If Hard Rock is approved, the first phase could be done as early as late next year.
A cross-country tour is currently making its way through southern Wisconsin. Tom Zerhellen, a veteran, is back where it all started at his alma mater at Beloit College. He made a stop there today during his cross-country walk. Started in Portland, Oregon, and he'll be ending in the state of New York to raise awareness and money for other veterans. Zerhellen walking 22 miles a day. That's in honor of the average of 22 veterans who commit suicide daily. One of the most iconic heavy bombers in aviation history, the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress, first saw combat back in 1941. More than 12,000 were produced, but now only a handful can still fly.
And today, one of those planes was right here in Madison. Jamie Perez takes us inside a B-17 and shares the incredible story of a man who was able to relive history inside of it.
For many, this plane is nostalgic. The B-17 carries a remarkable story behind it, one filled with sacrifice and dangerous missions. Developed in the midst of World War II, this fast, high-flying bomber dropped more bombs than any other U.S. aircraft during its time. This is the exact type of plane that saved George Levi Mueller's life.
Talking about B-17s for years.
When Mueller was 13 years old, he and his sister were imprisoned in a concentration camp.
She was 5 years younger, and we were there by ourselves. Every day that I was there, B-17s and other planes, but mostly B-17s, would come over in groups. At night it was the British, and they in hundreds of them, thousands altogether, but hundreds every day. And we could tell what direction they were going in, what city they were going to bomb.
Each day, as these planes bombed more cities around him, Mueller watched from the ground.
It turned out to be something bigger than in my head, and I got to the point where I could actually recognize a B-17. If I heard one or two, I could tell it was a B-17.
Seeing these planes meant there was a chance he might survive.
Then I knew that the war was going to be over soon if I could keep on being alive, and which I was. And so I was then saved.
All these years later, Mueller got the chance to fly in the same type of plane that saved him. And being inside was nothing short of incredible. Nostalgic.
This was like a dream come true.
The inner workings of the B-17s, the very ones that were shot at for 8 hours at a time, remarkable. And Mueller was finally able to experience this from the perspective that his heroes saw all those years ago.
Angels from the sky.
Reporting from Truax Field, I'm Jamie Perez, News 3 Now.
If you were interested in flying in that very same B-17, they are making flights available to the public all weekend long.
And for more information on how to reserve a spot, it is on our website at channel3000.com. Still ahead tonight, celebrating the 35th year of what has become a Wisconsin favorite.
In a story you will only see on News 3 Now, we sit down with the folks at Culver's, how it has now become a nationally recognized brand. That's next. "35 years ago tonight, the oval sign at an old A&W drive-in restaurant on the main drag in Sauk City turned blue.
That's right. A local family took a chance on something called butter burgers and frozen custard. This week, Culver's opened its 716th restaurant, not far from where I grew up, in Auburn, Indiana. It is now a national name, but much of what it was back on July 18th of 1984 remains the same.
My real passion is with our people.
What separates Culver's from all the others has never really changed.
Don't get me wrong, I love the butter burger, I love frozen custard, love all our great products, but it's our people that, you know, they make the difference. And they're fun to work with most of the time.
Yeah. People like Jody and Dale Ballwig.
Yeah, it was just, the intentions were earn some additional money and high school, car, clothes.
Jody worked the front register. Dale worked the grill when they started dating.
The people that closed, we just went and hung out with a group of friends. We all kind of went out and hung out.
Work hard all day and then go out afterwards and just kind of, chill. And
I didn't know they were dating. I thought I knew everything that went on in the restaurant. And all of a sudden one day I find out, the two are an item. Well, why didn't you tell me,
Married 23 years now, Culver's is the only place they've ever worked. Jody's director of franchisee training, Dale, director of operations. Even their 16-year-old son works at the Baraboo Culver's.
Just tremendous people who have grown up with Culver's.
President and CEO Joe Koss knows the Culver's formula.
When you think about it, starting out in an old converted A&W restaurant here in Sauk City, to 700 plus restaurants across 25 states.
And it got that way by carefully choosing individual Culver's restaurant owners, people who seem to fit a certain culture built on Culver's Wisconsin roots.
You know, we manage our growth so that it's a rate that we can control and we can do successfully, but it will always be about growing one successful restaurant at a time.
If we were just selling franchises, we wouldn't be nearly as successful as what we have been over the years. And that continues at Culver's. We continue to award franchises to the people that we feel have the culture to do this.
So it's all about the culture and the values that's been instilled from day one, and here we are 35 years later with those same values.
Craig says that business drive in the family came from the man he calls the family's real entrepreneur, his father, George. The trademark Culver's hospitality came from Mom Ruth.
But the two together fit together like a glove. I mean, they really did, and they balance each other off, and so they bought that little A&W drive-in 1961, right where Culver's sits in Sauk City today. And look what it's become.
The family will tell you they never dreamed that that Culver's would grow to the success it is today, and it really is truly an American success story, a Wisconsin success story.
While his parents have passed, their legacy lives on, and just as the company grows and the success continues, the more things stay the same.
I like to think of us as the overachiever, you know, the little guy. And even though we're 700 and some restaurants strong now, I always want us to have that attitude of being the one that's going to do whatever it takes. And we can't lose that, regardless of how big we get.
And Craig says being a family-owned company, he considers to be a huge competitive edge. He'd like to see Culver's remain family-owned until it's 100 years old. To learn more about how Culver's got to where it is today, we have a link up on our News 3 Now Facebook page that includes a video profiling the company's 35-year history. You need a frozen mixer, or you need something. That sounds good right now. Mixer right now, something from Culver's, Gary. Get us through the heat.
Yeah, it is really steamy out there. We're seeing some thunderstorms across parts of eastern Iowa, moving into areas just north of La Crosse. This thunderstorm cell here could be producing some heavy rain, maybe some small hail, but for the most part, the slow movement of the thunderstorms is bringing the potential for heavy rain. But right now, they appear to be moving to the east-northeast, and that would take most of them to the north of our viewing area. Now, the future radar over the next 3 hours shows perhaps a little bit of development over northeastern Iowa that could affect parts of southern Wisconsin. But the farther south you go, the better the chances that you'll probably stay dry tonight, even though there is a severe weather threat, slight risk down to the Wisconsin-Illinois state line. But the higher severe weather threat should stay to the north of us. Tomorrow, the higher severe weather threat heads into northern Wisconsin, where the contrast in temperatures will be greater. The hot and humid air here will probably prevent thunderstorms from developing at all. And then on Saturday, there could be an isolated strong to severe thunderstorm as a cold front moves through, but that will break the heat. Alert days remain in place for tonight for the possibility for an isolated strong thunderstorm. Then for tomorrow, our hottest day of the year, probably with a high of 96, heat index to near 110. Saturday will still hit a high of 90, but the high humidity will lead to some thunderstorms late in the afternoon. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. It is just sultry out there. You can cut the air with a knife. High today only made it to 86 thanks to this morning's thunderstorms. But look at the low temperature, 71, and right now we're still at 83 degrees. Winds are out of the south at 8 miles per hour. The dew point temperature is tropical at 76 degrees. It feels like it's 91 out there. The jet stream still to the north of us, so that's just allowing the heat to build just to our south. We're right on the northern edges of it. That will force the thunderstorms northward with this warm front later on tonight. And then you can see the high temperatures today in the 90s and triple digits just to our south and west. That will expand northward into southern Wisconsin for tomorrow. Temperatures right now are still in the 80s with dew point temperatures well into the 70s through much of the upper Midwest. But with time, we'll see a change. It won't happen tomorrow. Again, the heat will force those thunderstorms to the north for tomorrow night. But after a slight chance for a thunderstorm tomorrow, tomorrow night. Then we'll look for a better chance for thunderstorms Saturday during the afternoon as the cold front drops southward. And then look what happens. The storms start to clear out of here by Sunday morning, and the winds shift around to the north, and that will be the big change. We'll see temperatures drop, and the humidity levels will come way down. So again, there is a heat advisory in effect until 11 p.m. for much of southern Wisconsin, a heat warning until 7 p.m. for Crawford and Grant counties. Look for a low of 75 overnight, just a slight chance for a thunderstorm, especially from Madison southward. A better chance up to the north. 96 for a high tomorrow. Heat index readings perhaps close to 110 degrees. The future track model shows most of the thunderstorm chances to the north of us tonight. Dry during the day tomorrow with highs in the mid-90s. Tomorrow night, probably dry as well with low temperatures in the mid-70s. And then Saturday, you can see the thunderstorm chances. The cold front comes through. High temperatures around 90. Some areas could pick up an inch or two of rain in the heavier thunderstorms. Other areas may miss out on the rain altogether. But notice the 7 to 10-day forecast. After the thunderstorms clear out on Sunday morning, we're looking at a pretty dry forecast for next week with temperatures between about 80 and 85 and the humidity levels way down.
That will be nice to be able to breathe, right?
It will be.
Thank you, Gary.
Sure. Familiar face in a familiar place in this week's high school football all-star games. The story next in sports.
The Brewers hit the road. They open a series against the Arizona Diamondbacks in Phoenix tonight. The Brewers have been making some plays on defense in the game. Eduardo Escobar thinks he has a homer, but Lorenzo Cain says, not today. Another great catch. It's in the 6th inning. It's the Brewers 1 and the Diamondbacks 1. Big Ten football media days kicked off in Chicago today. The Badger representative scheduled to speak tomorrow will be there. Among the speakers today, Minnesota's head coach P.J. Fleck. The topic of Paul Bunyan's axe came up. This was the scene last November when the Gophers returned home after beating the Badgers 37-15 at Camp Randall. Fleck says winning back the axe is still huge for the Gopher program.
Well, winning that game, especially how we won it and where we won it, and hadn't won there since 1994, hadn't won the game in 14 straight years, breaking that mold creates this hope for the future.
The Wisconsin Football Coaches Association All-Star Games are Saturday in Oshkosh. The South All-Stars have been practicing at UW-Whitewater all week. One of their assistant coaches for the South is Scott Nelson. He, of course, played at Sun Prairie High School, went on to win a Rose Bowl with the Wisconsin Badgers. It's been a special experience in a lot of ways for Nelson this week. His son, Cooper, is a wide receiver on the All-Star team, and he, too, will play for the Badgers. And 30 years ago, Scott himself played in this All-Star game. He remembers it like it was yesterday.
We won 21-0. Had a goal line stand at the end of the game. So played with probably about 3 or 4 guys on the South team that went to the UW with me, another 3 or 4 on the North squad. And so your competitors that time, after the game, it's a handshake. Hey, I'll see you in a couple weeks, and we're going to try and get things going. But the memories that I have are more so my mom and dad, my brothers being around there, playing with a different group of guys that you've competed against or watched, and just an opportunity to come together with some of the best of the best.
If you love golf, you were probably up very early this morning watching the first round of the Open Championship. The good news is the telecast of the second round begins in about 2 hours. The first round at Royal Portrush today is a home game for Rory McIlroy, a hero to the fans in Northern Ireland, but he started with this shot out of bounds. Quadruple bogey 8 on his way to a round of 79. Here's the shot of the day, 200-yard par 3, 13th hole. Emiliano Grillo lands it on the exact place he needed to land it, and he rolls it in for a hole-in-one. He shot 2 over, tied for 72nd. The leader after first round, American J.B. Holmes, rolls in this birdie putt on 18 to take the lead in a round of 500 par 67, and it stands up. One-shot lead over Irishman Shane Lowry and Mr. Major Brooks Koepka right there, just 2 shots behind. Tiger Woods says he couldn't get loose, shot 79, and David Duval's in last place. He shot 91, including a 14 on the 7th hole. And finally, Ethan Happ will play professional basketball in Greece. Happ gets a 2-year deal with one of the best teams in Greece, Olympiakos Piraeus. Happ will play in both the Euro League and the Greek League. His head coach is former Cleveland Cavaliers head coach, David Blatt. And we'll be right back.
It's
About 135 bearded men who look an awful lot like Ernest Hemingway have converged on Key West, the author's home during the 1930s, to compete in the annual Hemingway Look-alike contest. And one of those bearded men, one of News 3 Now's very own, there he is.
Yeah.
Wearing that green turtleneck. That's Garrett Marshall. He is an engineer here at the station, has been for many years. The three-night competition takes place at Sloppy Joe's Bar, where Hemingway often shared cocktails and camaraderie with friends. Garrett's been going down there taking
for
part in that.
years. Hasn't won yet.
He looks so
I
much
know.
like it.
Just give it to him.
Yeah, Garrett,
Give it to the
best of luck.
Wisconsin guy.
Enjoy Key West. Cooler down there, probably.
Yeah,
right?
but well, temperatures right now are in the mid-80s, 83 right now in Madison. The dew point temperature's at 76, and it feels like 91 degrees right now. Highest temperatures mid-90s for tomorrow, but a break in the heat after the weekend.
Thanks for joining us.
Do something good. We'll see you tomorrow.